George Washington, character, power, and the birth of a republic. History remembers victories, but it is character that sustains nations. When we speak of the American Revolution, we often imagine battlefields, declarations, and fiery speeches. Yet beneath the noise of revolution lay something quieter, something more fragile. A question: could power be exercised without corruption? Could a revolution produce liberty without descending into chaos? At the center of this question stood George Washington. He was not merely the commander of an army. He became the moral axis around which a new nation rotated. To understand his influence, we must begin not with battles, but with the nature of revolutionary leadership itself. Section 1. Why revolutions fail. Most revolutions begin with idealism and end in instability. History offers examples of leaders who rise in the name of freedom, but become tyrants once power is secured. The same energy that fuels liberation can fuel domination. Revolution is volatile. It awakens passion, it destroys old structures, but destruction alone cannot sustain a society. What prevents revolution from collapsing into factionalism? The answer is not charisma, it is restraint. Washington's importance lies precisely here. He embodied restraint at a time when ambition could easily have reshaped the American experiment into something darker. Section 2. Washington's temperament. Unlike many revolutionary figures, Washington was not ideological in temperament. He was practical. He was cautious in speech. He disliked extremes. He believed that leadership required example more than rhetoric. This temperament proved decisive. In moments when the Continental Army suffered defeat, many advocated dramatic gestures. Some called for bold offensives, others feared total collapse. Washington chose calculated patience. His strategy was not to win every battle, but to avoid losing the war. This distinction reveals something essential. He valued survival over spectacle. Section 3. The psychology of authority. Authority can arise in different ways. Some leaders command through fear, others through admiration, a few through moral trust. Washington's authority developed gradually. Soldiers trusted him because he endured with them. Congress relied on him because he did not threaten its power. He understood something subtle: power that appears too eager becomes suspect. By avoiding personal glorification, he strengthened collective legitimacy. His silence often spoke louder than speeches. Section 4. The crisis at Valley Forge. One of the defining tests of Washington's leadership came during the winter at Valley Forge. The army was starving, supplies were scarce, morale was broken. In such conditions, revolutionary fervor can evaporate, yet Washington did not panic. He did not seek dramatic confrontation. Instead, he reorganized, trained, and disciplined the army. He transformed suffering into preparation. Valley Forge was not a triumph of arms, it was a triumph of endurance. And endurance in a revolutionary struggle can be more decisive than aggression. Section 5. Civilian supremacy. A radical idea, perhaps Washington's most revolutionary act, occurred after the war. He resigned his commission. In modern democracies, civilian control over the military seems natural. But in the 18th century, victorious generals often retained power. By stepping down voluntarily, Washington signaled something profound. The army existed to serve the republic, not rule it. This act reassured skeptics across the world. It demonstrated that the American Revolution was not a pathway to dictatorship. Resignation became his greatest assertion of authority. Section 6. The philosophy behind the man. Washington rarely articulated grand philosophical systems, yet his actions reveal an underlying philosophy. Liberty requires structure. Freedom requires discipline. Power must be limited, even when held by the virtuous. He believed institutions were stronger than individuals. That belief distinguished him from many revolutionary contemporaries. Section 7. Influence beyond personality. It is tempting to romanticize Washington, but his greatness does not depend on myth. He was human, he experienced doubt, he faced criticism, he made mistakes, yet his consistency created stability. Revolutions are unstable environments. Stability becomes magnetic. Washington's influence was not explosive, it was gravitational. People did not follow him because he dazzled them. They followed him because he steadied them. Closing of Part 1. As the war ended and independence was secured, a new question emerged. Could a republic survive its own success? The next chapter of Washington's life would test not his military skill, but his capacity to shape a nation's political soul. In Part 2, we will explore the presidency, the formation of precedent, and the delicate balance between authority and liberty. Because the true revolution did not end in 1783, it began there. When George Washington accepted the presidency in 1789, the United States was not yet a secure nation. It was an experiment. The Constitution had been ratified, but its meaning was untested. The balance between liberty and authority was fragile. Suspicion of centralized power remained strong. Washington understood something that few fully grasped at the time. He was not merely becoming president. He was defining what a president would be. Every gesture, every silence, every decision would become precedent, and precedent, once established, is difficult to reverse. Section 1, the weight of firstness. There is a unique burden in being the first. There were no previous presidential models to follow, no traditions, no accumulated customs. Washington had to invent the tone of the office. Too much formality would resemble monarchy. Too much informality would weaken respect. He navigated this tension carefully. He refused titles that suggested royalty. When some proposed that he be addressed as His Highness or similar honors, he declined. Instead, he accepted the simple title, Mr. President. That decision seems modest today, but at the time it sent a powerful message. The American executive would not be a king in disguise. Section 2, authority without display. Washington believed that Republican government required dignity, but not splendor. He adopted a style of restrained ceremony. Public appearances were measured. Social interactions were formal but not theatrical. He sought to maintain a sense of institutional gravity while avoiding personal glorification. He understood a subtle truth. If the office became dependent on personality, it would weaken over time. But if the office embodied continuity and restraint, it could survive beyond any single individual. This distinction shaped the culture of American executive power. Section 3, cabinet government and collective responsibility. One of Washington's lasting contributions was the formation of the cabinet. The Constitution did not explicitly describe a cabinet system. Yet Washington recognized the necessity of consultation. He appointed individuals of strong intellect and contrasting views: Alexander Hamilton as Secretary of the Treasury, Thomas Jefferson as Secretary of State. These men often disagreed profoundly. Rather than suppress disagreement, Washington allowed structured debate. He listened carefully, weighed arguments, and then decided. This method established a principle: executive authority could coexist with deliberation. The presidency would not operate in isolation. It would function within a framework of counsel and accountability. Section 4, the challenge of political factions. Washington distrusted political parties. He feared that factional loyalty might eclipse national unity. During his presidency, the divisions between Federalists and Democratic Republicans intensified. He watched as personal rivalries threatened the fragile stability of the young republic. His concern was not merely political, it was philosophical. He believed that excessive partisanship would fracture the republic's moral center. In his farewell address, he warned against the dangers of factionalism. He urged citizens to value national identity above sectional allegiance. His warning remains strikingly relevant. Section 5, neutrality in foreign policy. International affairs presented another profound test. France, America's former ally, entered into revolution. Britain remained a powerful force. The young United States was vulnerable. Washington chose neutrality. This decision was controversial. Many Americans felt loyalty toward France, others feared British retaliation. But Washington prioritized survival over sentiment. He understood that the United States lacked the strength for foreign entanglement. Neutrality was not weakness, it was prudence. This choice established a precedent of cautious foreign policy that shaped American strategy for decades. Section 6, the Whiskey Rebellion, testing federal authority. One of the most significant domestic challenges during Washington's presidency was the Whiskey Rebellion. Farmers in western Pennsylvania resisted a federal tax on distilled spirits. Protests escalated into defiance. The central question emerged: would the new federal government enforce its laws? Washington responded firmly but proportionately. He mobilized militia forces to demonstrate federal authority, yet he also avoided excessive punishment. The rebellion collapsed with minimal bloodshed. This episode sent a crucial message. The Republic possessed the strength to enforce its laws without descending into tyranny. Authority and moderation could coexist. Section 7, the ethics of limitation. Perhaps the most defining precedent Washington established was self-limitation. After serving 2 terms, he declined a third. No constitutional rule required this decision. He stepped down voluntarily. In doing so, he reinforced a principle essential to Republican governance: power must circulate. By leaving office willingly, he normalized peaceful transition. This act strengthened democratic stability more profoundly than any single policy. Section 8, leadership through restraint. Throughout his presidency, Washington exhibited a consistent pattern. He avoided extremes. He refrained from exploiting popularity. He balanced competing interests without surrendering institutional integrity. His leadership was defined less by dramatic innovation and more by disciplined continuity. In a revolutionary age, this restraint was revolutionary. Section 9, the burden of precedent. Precedent is invisible but powerful. Washington's conduct established unwritten rules that shaped the presidency for generations. Respect for constitutional boundaries, consultation with advisors, neutrality in foreign conflicts. Voluntary departure from office. These patterns became part of the American political fabric. Later presidents would test these precedents. Some would stretch them, others would challenge them. But Washington's model remained the benchmark. Section 10, the personal cost. It is important to recognize that Washington did not seek the presidency out of ambition. He accepted it reluctantly. He understood the personal sacrifices involved, the scrutiny, the strain, the responsibility of failure. Leadership, in his view, was a duty rather than an opportunity. This sense of obligation shaped his decisions. He did not treat the presidency as a platform for self-expression. He treated it as stewardship. Closing reflection of Part 2. By the end of his second term, the United States was still fragile, but it was stable. Institutions functioned, laws were enforced, precedents were established. Washington had not solved every problem, but he had demonstrated that Republican government could endure. The presidency he left behind was not a throne. It was an office bounded by law, tempered by restraint, and defined by example. In Part 3, we will explore Washington's moral authority more deeply, how his personal character shaped public trust, and why the survival of republics depends not only on laws, but on virtue. Because institutions may frame a nation, but character sustains it. Laws can be written, institutions can be constructed, armies can secure borders, but republics do not survive on structure alone. They survive on trust, and trust does not emerge from force, it grows from character. George Washington's greatest contribution to the American experiment may not have been military victory or presidential precedent. It may have been something quieter, the establishment of moral authority in public life. In this part, we explore a deeper question: why do republics fail? And what role does personal virtue play in preventing that failure? Section 1, the fragility of republics. Republics are delicate systems. Unlike monarchies which rely on inherited power, republics rely on consent, and consent is unstable. It depends on belief in fairness, belief in justice, belief in leadership. If citizens lose faith in those who govern, institutions begin to hollow from within. History shows this repeatedly. Republics collapse not only from invasion, but from corrosion. Faction replaces unity, ambition replaces service, suspicion replaces trust. Washington understood this fragility instinctively. He believed that liberty required virtue, not merely law. Section 2, reputation as political capital. Washington guarded his reputation carefully. He knew that reputation was not vanity, it was political capital. When he spoke, people listened not because of volume, but because of credibility. He did not speak impulsively. He avoided rhetorical exaggeration. He measured his words. In moments of crisis, this consistency gave his statements weight. If he declared that the nation would endure, people believed him. Reputation, in his case, became a stabilizing force. Section 3, self-control as leadership. One of Washington's most defining traits was emotional restraint. He was not immune to anger. He was not without frustration, but he disciplined these impulses. In battle, emotional volatility could have been catastrophic. In politics, it could have inflamed divisions. Instead, he cultivated composure. This composure signaled reliability. In uncertain times, reliability becomes leadership. Modern politics often rewards dramatic personality. Washington demonstrated a different model, steadiness over spectacle. Section 4, the moral example of resignation. Earlier, we examined Washington's resignation after the war. Here, we must consider its moral impact more deeply. When he surrendered military power voluntarily, he sent a signal to the world. The revolution was not about replacing one ruler with another. It was about creating a system governed by principle. This action built moral legitimacy, not only domestically, but internationally. Foreign observers saw something rare, a victorious general who chose retirement over domination. That act strengthened the moral foundation of the Republic. Section 5, Washington and the temptation of popularity. Popularity is intoxicating. After the revolution, Washington was revered. He could have capitalized on that reverence, but he resisted. He declined symbolic gestures that elevated him above the citizenry. He avoided cultivating a personality cult. He understood a dangerous truth. When citizens attach liberty to a single individual, liberty becomes vulnerable. He wanted the Republic to outlive him. Therefore, he minimized his own indispensability. Section 6, the ethics of power. Power reveals character. Some leaders grow more cautious with power, others grow more reckless. Washington demonstrated ethical restraint. He refused to use his position to settle personal scores. He did not retaliate harshly against critics. He absorbed criticism without descending into pettiness. This ethical conduct fostered political stability. People may disagree with policy, but if they trust the integrity of leadership, disagreement remains civil. Washington's ethical consistency prevented many potential conflicts from escalating. Section 7, fear of corruption. Washington feared corruption, not only financial corruption, but moral corruption. He believed that excessive partisanship, foreign influence, and personal ambition could corrode Republican values. His farewell address reads almost like a warning to future generations. He cautioned against political factions, foreign entanglements, erosion of public virtue. He did not assume the Republic was self-sustaining. He believed it required constant moral vigilance. Section 8, civic virtue and public responsibility. Washington saw citizenship as active responsibility. Freedom did not mean absence of obligation. It meant participation in shared governance. He believed citizens must cultivate discipline, education, and moral awareness. Without civic virtue, liberty would deteriorate into disorder. This view may appear austere, but it reflects a central insight. Democracy depends not only on rights, but on responsibility. Section 9, the human limits of leadership. It is important not to mythologize Washington excessively. He was not flawless. He navigated contradictions, including the moral complexity of slavery within his own life. These tensions remind us that leadership exists within historical constraints. Yet even acknowledging imperfections, his commitment to institutional integrity stands out. He aimed not at personal purity, but at systemic stability. Section 10, trust as the core of influence. Ultimately, Washington's influence rested on trust. Trust that he would not seize excessive power. Trust that he would uphold constitutional boundaries. Trust that he placed nation above self. Trust is invisible yet powerful. It transforms authority into legitimacy, and legitimacy is the lifeblood of republics. Closing reflection of Part 3. By the end of his public life, Washington had achieved something extraordinary. He made restraint admirable. He proved that leadership could be strong without being domineering, that authority could coexist with humility. In doing so, he strengthened the moral architecture of the United States. But one final question remains: what does Washington's model mean for modern republics? In Part 4, we will explore his enduring relevance, examining political psychology, institutional decay, and why his example still matters today. Because republics are never finished projects. They must be renewed by each generation. More than 2 centuries have passed since George Washington walked the political stage. Empires have risen and fallen. Technologies have transformed civilization. Political systems have evolved. And yet the questions he confronted remain strikingly familiar. How should power be exercised? How long should leaders remain in office? What prevents liberty from collapsing into division? Washington does not belong only to the 18th century. His relevance persists because the psychology of power has not changed. Section 1, the timeless nature of power. Power magnifies character. It reveals hidden ambition. It exposes insecurity. It tempts even the disciplined. Modern political systems are larger, louder, and more complex than those of Washington's time. Yet the fundamental tension remains. Will leaders restrain themselves when they can expand themselves? Washington's life offers a model of self-limitation. In an age that often celebrates visibility and dominance, his restraint appears almost countercultural. But restraint is not weakness, it is strength directed inward. Section 2, the psychology of leadership. Psychologists today study leadership traits, confidence, emotional stability, impulse control. Washington demonstrated a rare combination. Confidence without arrogance, authority without aggression, determination without fanaticism. He understood that leadership is less about personal expression and more about institutional preservation. In moments of crisis, he did not escalate emotion, he reduced it. This capacity to stabilize collective anxiety may be his most modern trait. Section 3, the danger of personalization. Modern politics often centers on personality. Public discourse amplifies individual identity. Leaders become brands. Washington resisted personalization. He deliberately separated himself from the office. He avoided cultivating dependency. Why? Because personalization weakens institutions. When loyalty shifts from constitutional structure to individual figure, stability becomes fragile. Washington wanted allegiance to the Republic, not to himself. Section 4, institutional strength versus charismatic authority. Political theorists distinguish between charismatic authority and institutional authority. Charismatic authority is powerful but unstable. Institutional authority is slower but durable. Washington chose the latter. He refused to rely solely on personal magnetism. Instead, he reinforced constitutional norms. This choice shaped the long-term resilience of the American system. In modern contexts where media can elevate personalities rapidly, his example suggests caution. Durability often depends on procedure, not spectacle. Section 5, the erosion of civic unity. Washington feared factional division. Today, political polarization is common across democracies. The dynamics he warned about remain visible: partisan loyalty overtaking national identity, public discourse deteriorating into suspicion, foreign influence exploiting internal division. His farewell address reads almost prophetic, yet his solution was not suppression, it was civic virtue. He believed unity required shared commitment to constitutional principles. Section 6, the responsibility of citizens. Leadership alone cannot preserve a republic. Citizens must sustain it. Washington emphasized education, moral responsibility, and participation. In modern democracies, disengagement poses its own threat. A republic cannot function if citizens withdraw into apathy. Washington's example suggests that national survival depends on active civic culture. Liberty is not self-maintaining. Section 7, the modern crisis of trust. Trust in institutions fluctuates. Scandals, corruption, misinformation, all can weaken public confidence. Washington's legacy reminds us that trust is cumulative. It is built slowly. It is damaged quickly. He cultivated trust through predictability and ethical consistency. Modern systems may require similar steadiness to restore public faith. Section 8, leadership and humility. Perhaps Washington's most overlooked trait was humility. He recognized his limitations. He sought counsel. He corrected errors. He declined excessive praise. Humility in leadership prevents rigidity. It allows adaptation without surrendering principle. In times of rapid change, humility becomes an asset, not a liability. Section 9, the enduring question: what would Washington's model look like today? It would emphasize self-restraint over impulsiveness, institutional loyalty over personal ambition, measured response over emotional escalation, long-term stability over short-term. Applies these principles. Transcend time. They are not uniquely American, they are fundamentally Republican. Section 10, final synthesis. Across these 4 parts, we have examined Washington as revolutionary commander, constitutional architect, moral authority, psychological model. Of restrained power, his greatness lies not in dramatic innovation, but in disciplined continuity. He demonstrated that power need not corrupt, that leadership need not dominate, that influence need not shout. In relinquishing authority, he strengthened it. In limiting himself, he legitimized the system. Closing reflection: republics are never finished. They are living systems, sustained by habits of restraint, respect, and responsibility. Washington did not create perfection, he created precedent, and precedent, when guided by virtue, becomes tradition. When guided by ambition alone, it becomes warning. His life asks each generation a question: will we exercise power for ourselves or for the institutions that outlast us? The answer determines not only political stability, but the future of liberty itself.